Well, I want to just tell you and share with you my story uh, with the healthcare system, my experience. And it's not my own experience, but it's what we have gone through with my own mother. Um, my mom lived here for 15 years, and she never had health insurance. She was 65 when she started getting really sick. Um, she was diabetic, and she had complications of diabetes, and we didn't know much about the healthcare system. My brothers were still young, and whom she lived with, and I was living in the Midwest. I wasn't here with them, and she just paid everything out of pocket. Um, she was raising my brothers, whom they were both going to school. Didn't have any financial aid, so it was really tough, and we had to sell some properties that we had back home so we can take care of her here. And she spent about a year in the hospital. They told us that she had to have heart surgery. She was 67. She had heart failure. She had kidney failure. She was diabetic. She had high blood pressure. And neither one of my brothers knew what they're supposed to be doing. And so you rely on, the providers to tell you what to do. And they said, well, she needs heart surgery, and if she doesn't have the surgery, she could die tomorrow. If she has the surgery, she could also die tomorrow. So, you're relying on the expert to make a decision. So we went ahead and had the surgery. Mom never came out of the surgery. Well, she came out of the surgery, but she never made it out of the hospital because she was not insured. Because she was not insured, I don't think the care in the hospital was as well as it should have been. She didn't speak the language, and there was no interpreters. My brother was the only one who could take care of her, and they gave him really a hard time to be there with her. When visiting hours were over, he was kicked out, and of course Mom couldn't communicate with anyone. The more we requested someone to be there, the worse the service got. And then they pushed her out of the hospital when she wasn't well enough. We took her home. She got worse, and then she went back in the hospital, and she passed away in the hospital. She never made it out. So that's kind of my story with my mom. I think if she had insurance, her story would have been different. There would have been more preventative care. She could have managed her diabetes better. There may have not been the complications that she had. So I think it's all because of the coverage and the lack of access, or the lack of coverage as well. So of course, it probably was time for her to go, but that's not something that family thinks about. You always think it could have been better for her. She could have died peacefully rather than in the hospital. She stayed in the hospital for over 9 months that last time she went in, and even though we knew that, she had total kidney failure, so at that time they kept her in the hospital, and they were doing dialysis for her. They were doing stuff that they probably shouldn't have done. And now, there are more expenses that they are doing now that could have been prevented if there were the preventative care that was put forward, and before that all complications had occurred. So I don't know. I think the most important thing, the most important component of her care at this point is preventative care. Primary preventative care. I think we could save so much more financially and human lives if we implemented preventative care, primary preventative care for everyone, before we get to that point.